Hi, it's Steve. It's Valentine's Day today. Clearly, I'm wearing red to commemorate Cupid, I suppose. Uh, Today, we will be making sauerkraut. Culturally, we're all confused, being Valentine's Day. A recipe that was, or something that was originally made by the Chinese, that the Germans took credit for, and that we're going to be celebrating. Hopefully, it'll be ready by then for St. Patrick's Day. Anyways, let's get started shredding up some cabbage. So today we're doing this because, well, for to be able to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Um, Also, too, these cabbages are starting to show their age a little bit, and they're also taking up an awful lot of valuable real estate in the refrigerator. Um, so before we started, I did weigh out these cabbage, and I have about 15 pounds here. Um, According to the good people at the USDA, you need about, or you need 3 tablespoons of salt per 5 pounds of cabbage. So in here, I've got 9 tablespoons of salt. This is the vessel, the handy dandy 5-gallon bucket that we will be fermenting these things in. So I will clean these guys up, core them out, and chop them nice and fine. Okay, so when you're doing this, you can add a certain amount of shredded. These guys are all quartered and cleaned up now, by the way. You can add a certain amount of shredded carrot or onion or green or red peppers if you want. I don't. I like it just the way it is. Um, Also, too, like these guys, uh, you can use the shredder attachment on your um, food processor. I prefer, like, for a little bit like this, I'm just going to use the knife. It'll be an awful lot easier, because for all of the work that that food processor will save you, make it worth your while to do industrial quantities to, make it worthwhile cleaning up the big mess that you make with your food processor. So everything, again, according to the USDA, they say to cut these things into slices as thin as a quarter. A quarter what? Or a quarter of what? I don't know. So I'm just using my better judgment and just chopping them really, really, really thin. Anyways, I'll be back when I'm just about ready for salting and packing and punching and massaging here. All right. Okay, so here I've got about a third of the cabbage done. Um, it's shredded in the bucket, and it's taking up about a third of the bucket as well. But not to worry, you think, geez, if I've got 5 pounds or 50 pounds of it, you're not going to fit 50 pounds into a 5-gallon bucket. But um, it will shrink down. It will go down and take care of itself. So what we need to do is put, of these 9 tablespoons of salt, about a third of it. So we'll say that should just about do it. Yeah, maybe a little more, just to be on the safe side. Doesn't really matter because it's all going to go in the end. And then you really have to get in there. You have to mix it all around and squeeze the bejesus out of it. Like, you really have to get in there and work it. And punch it. Well, not punch it, but put your weight on it. Usually I'll do this more on the floor where I'm not going to get as much resistance. But you have to work it and work it and work it and turn it around and turn it around. And eventually, you can break up all the little bits and pieces at the same time. It'll start to shrink down. And already I can feel it starting to soften up, and it's going to start letting go of its juices. And then we're going to wind up with a fantastic all natural brine in there. And in the end, after doing this, if you don't have enough of the natural brine, like, because the solid material, the cabbage itself, should be covered well with its own natural brine. But if there's not enough natural brine, you can make your own. I believe it's a simple brine as well. Uh, 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt to a quart or a liter of water. You boil it up, let it cool down, and you top off your bucket with that, because it needs to be, everything needs to be submerged in there for the lactic fermentation to be good, because otherwise you just wind up with a horrible rotten mess that was a waste of your time. Nobody likes that, and I can feel it already softening up. You know, sometimes if you ever go to the dollar store and the kids have run away, and you know where they've gone. They've gone off to the toy aisle, and they come back with those squishy, squeezy ball things, or like they're the shape of dogs or cats, and you squeeze them and their eyeballs pop out or whatever. This is roughly the same exercise that you're doing here. You're just giving everything a good squeeze, and it's kind of a weird ASMR too. I can feel it getting all soft now. Anyways, I'll leave it at this for now and come back in a little bit when we're at the next stages and steps. But again, this is one of those things you can't be afraid to get in there and really abuse the cabbage. Yeah, that's starting to feel good. All right, I'll be back momentarily. Okay, so after having had to have been rather violent with this cabbage to get it to release all of its juice and liquid, uh, I'm happy with where it is now. It's packed in really, really tight, and now all we need to do is make sure it all stays under the water. So with that, we're just using an old dinner plate. All right, we're gonna push that in there very gently so as not to break the dinner plate. Okay, and then we're gonna use, just as a weight, just another mason jar filled with just water, plain simple water, to hold it down. And we're gonna just make sure it's down nicely like that. And that's that. Okay, so if there are any floaters or anything of the sort swimming around there a little later on, I'm going to pull them off the top. Everybody should be under the liquid. All right, and so with that in mind, now it just has to sit for 3 or 4 weeks, and we should all be good. All right. Okay, so through all of that, just something simple again is that you can use whatever size vessel you want for your fermenting. You can use a mason jar, you know, like one of the small ones, or a quart. You can use a gallon pickle jar that you have lying around or whatever. You can use a 5-gallon bucket, food grade, or a 50-gallon drum if you want. But what's important to remember is you have to pack that stuff in tight, tight, tight. So you have to really push it in so it's super, super tight. Okay. Um, as far as the fermentation goes, you're better off to have it somewhere, sitting somewhere where it won't be bothered. Put a cover over it. You saw me put the plate over top of it, but put a lid like just on very loosely, or an old shirt or some kind of cloth, something to keep any kind of creepy crawlies out, or flies or dust or dirt or whatever. But put it somewhere where it will be just on that side of 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. If it goes much lower than that, it will be a really slow ferment, if it ferments at all. So after those 3 or 4 weeks, what you can do is take it, put it into a jar, put it in the refrigerator, and it will be there happily for several months. If you wind up having more than you think you can consume in the foreseeable future, still again, put it into a mason jar, the pint or quart size, the half liter or liter size, and it can be water bath canned. All right, and there it will last quite a while longer. That's what we're going to wind up doing with this batch, because we've already got some in the fridge and we've got some on the shelves anyways that have been canned up. So I thank you for your time and your patience. That canning will be another video right around St. Patrick's Day. I thank you for your time and your patience, and tell me where you're coming from, and we will see you next time.